Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are returning from our Ike lander, our Ike landing, and we of course have a lot of fuel left. So let's warp on forward. We are going to warp to this maneuver, which is going to be our return to Kerbin. We're going to have to do our home-in transfer here. There's not a lot to see when we're orbiting Kerbal, that's for sure. And we are just going to get into position here. We're about 3 hours away. Let's warp forward a little further. Now we're about 2 minutes away. Let's warp forward a little further. We could warp further than this, actually. Okay. Now we're about 30 seconds away. Cool. 2, 1, mark. And we're going to have to be pretty precise with this burn, I might point out as well. So what this means, of course, is that we need to get zoomed out here, head over to Kerbin, and we need to keep a close eye on what we've got going on here. So, this is our target orbit here. Well, it's not really an orbit. This is a hyperbolic trajectory. Now, currently we are targeting 37 kilometers here, right? And that is fine. We can definitely do that. I think we're going to do a radial retrograde on the way in and just tune that down a little bit. So that'll be okay. Wow, there's a lot of oscillation happening here. A whole lot of oscillation, but it's okay. So that was an interesting encounter there, but I think we may have just overshot it a bit. No, hang on. This is it right here. Okay, so that's 510 kilometers. No, we did overshoot it. Let's bring it around to prograde. This is going to be very, very sensitive here. No doubt about it. Let's bring it down to prograde. Oh, this reset the map position on us. Very rude. We're going to have to go back over to Kerbin. What is this? We're going to have to go back to Kerbin and come on in here. So I don't really care what our inclination is or anything like that. I just want to bring this in. That is incredibly sensitive. Okay. That's noted. Let's bring this around to a normal position here. So we're going to put it somewhere around here. I have no idea what our actual encounter is like right now. But I think it might be this. It's slightly buggy at the moment. Okay, that's definitely not great there. That does tell us what we needed to know. So let's bring this back around to retrograde. And let's just dial this in a little bit. I just wanted to get to a reasonable point, and then we'll radial retrograde it. We have so much delta V in this. So that should be reasonably fine. What's this at? 466? It's definitely not where I'd like it to be. Let's try doing an inclination change and see what that does for us. I'd like to bring it into that 37 kilometer, or at least like dipping into the atmosphere a little bit. So sub 70 would be ideal. I'm not sure how realistic it is to get us there from here. Oh, this isn't so bad. That's good. Right there. 51 kilometers. That'll do. Okay, get rid of this maneuver node. Now we, of course, need to warp over to that. So, we need to get to that Kerbin periapsis encounter, or rather that Kerbin encounter, which is going to be somewhere up over here. It's going to be a little further than that. But let's warp our way on up. We are home and transferring into Kerbin now. So we've got 210 meters per second left here. I want to warp to right here. So that is within the Kerbin sphere of influence. Boom. So now what we want to do, now that we are within the Kerbin sphere of influence, we want to, sometime around here or so, I want to create a maneuver plan, and we're going to do a radial retrograde burn here. So we're just going to do a retrograde burn, but we're going to keep our periapsis up. You can see here our periapsis is currently dropping. That's 20 kilometers there. We're going to keep it up by tossing in some radial. So that looks good. Mostly this is going to be a retrograde burn. But I definitely want to bring in a little bit of radial. And what is this putting the apoapsis at right now? That's not too bad. It's not perfect yet. So let's just continue to bring this on around. That's pretty close to as good as we're going to get. Okay, that's 1,078 meters per second, and that is, of course, more than we have in these side panels here, but we are absolutely going to want to get rid of them. We're going to be building up a lot of speed as we fall down towards Kerbal, and we want to shed a lot of that speed. We'll shed some via aerobraking. I'm not 100% convinced, though, that this area is going to survive the aerobrake. And that's where our parachutes are. So that could be problematic. We're definitely going to want to get this burn going very, very soon. Let's just bring this right on in. Okay. Time warp limited due to proximity to celestial body. Fair enough. We're going to warp in a little further, though. Okay, now it's about 40 seconds away. So I want to stow our solar panels. That got all of them? Okay, beautiful. And we're going to start this burn in about 30 seconds. We are still fairly high up. We're not in the atmosphere yet. But you can see we're falling in pretty quickly. We're at about 3 kilometers per second right now. And it's definitely not the fastest we've come in, at least in KSP1, but it's going to be a little bit here. So we've got about 20 seconds until this burn. Let's warp a little further. 10 seconds. Okay. We're still 100 kilometers up right now. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. So let's start braking. So we're going to be ditching these very shortly. That is, of course, going to go onto this engine then. And we've got a lot of fuel left in it. No doubt about that. We'll look to burn off quite a lot of it. We've now entered orbit here. Okay, so we need to ditch those. There we go. They are out of here. And we're going to continue to brake. We are not in atmosphere yet, but you can see just how much delta V we have here, and we've got another chunk up in this fuel tank. It's not automatically flowing down. So that is okay. We can open up our resource manager, and we want to make sure that it is, in fact, flowing down. So we're going to do out, and we're going to start that. There we go. And it's going to continue burning out of here, but that's okay for the moment. So this is still going to be quite a lot of speed that we want to burn down here, right? However, we're going to hit the atmosphere very, very soon. So that is noted. We can see we have managed to bring ourselves into orbit, and our periapsis is currently about 60 kilometers, which is quite low, or rather quite high. So we probably aren't currently going to be captured by the atmosphere on this aerobrake pass, unless we continue this burn, which we're absolutely going to do. There's no doubt about that. And we'll keep bringing this fuel in as well. So the resource monitor here, we want to pull fuel out here. There we go. So we're just burning this fuel first, right now. That looks good. We've still got about a minute of burn time here. Now, note that we are currently in the atmosphere. So I'm going to get rid of this, and we're just going to take it over to retrograde, like so. Fantastic. Note time to periapsis is going up right now. So that's not necessarily ideal. But 58 kilometers isn't so bad. That is quite high up still. Okay. We've managed to shed quite a lot of our speed, but we need to shed more. No doubt about that. I'm going to be targeting about a 40 kilometer periapsis here, I feel like. I want to have this be very safe because I'm concerned about the lack of heat shielding here, and I don't want to lose our parachutes. So we're going to try to keep it very, very safe here. I'm going to keep it at 50 for the time being. So that's engine shutdown for the moment. And we're going to pull this fuel back out over here. That is all of that fuel removed. Excellent. So we have no more fuel here, and we can see 3,000 dV here. Yeah, there's a lot of dV here. No doubt about that. So we can see we are having some aerobrake here, but we're in very, very thin atmosphere as of right now. And that is not at all surprising. The next question is, this is a lot of land. Okay. We are on pace for a land landing as of right now. I don't necessarily love that. We're going to keep an eye on the heat gauges here. If we see any heat gauges at all, I'm going to commence another burn. Any at all. Now, we're going to be ditching this stage eventually. We're not going to attempt to land on it. But we do see a plasma sheath beginning to form here. Time to periapsis is dropping right now, which is good. It'll start going up, probably, without any further burn. That's my current theory. I do believe that we are currently captured, unless we actively attempted not to be captured, which we should not do. So the velocity is currently mostly coming out of the apoapsis, which is exactly what we want it to do. Keeping an eye on that plasma sheath, things seem to be pretty okay for right now. Of course, we're coming in very safely. And that's just because I'm deeply, deeply concerned about the heat here. If we see a heat gauge here, we absolutely begin a burn. 110,000%. Orbital velocity is still going up right now. That is not surprising. We're 50 kilometers up. Air is still very thin here. Time to periapsis is still dropping, and we're actually very, very close to the periapsis right now. I am going to commence a re-entry burn once we're basically at the apoapsis, like maybe 10 seconds away or so. So that seems reasonably fine for right now. We're just cruising along in the atmosphere here and just making sure we don't have any overheat situations. 50 seconds right now to periapsis. Still looking good. Not seeing any major heat effects at this point. We're only about 500 meters right now from our periapsis point in terms of altitude, which is really not too bad. However, this time, I don't think it's going down by 1 second per second, is it? Maybe it is. No, I think that's about right. Okay, that's cool. Orbital velocity is dropping at this point, which is a good sign. We are approaching the periapsis, so it should be pretty much at its maximum. And it shouldn't start to drop until we start heading towards the apoapsis. That means that the aerobraking is having a solid effect. I like it. We're about 10 seconds away from the periapsis, going to commence the burn now. And we're just looking to bring that apoapsis down fairly considerably here. I'm going to burn here until our periapsis is maybe about 30 kilometers. We're definitely captured at this point. Okay, periapsis and apoapsis have flipped. Honestly, I'm going to bring it down to 10. There we go. That'll be fine. We should be going, in theory, slowly enough here. Although our orbital velocity is still pretty up there. That is noted. Maybe we should just continue this burn for the time being. Yeah, let's do it. We've got a lot of delta V here. I want to make this an even safer landing. So we're just going to burn this down as much as we can. We're going to ditch this stage, and we don't need all of the delta V in it, right? This thing is pretty overbuilt for this mission. No doubt about that. I mean, we just reused our Duna craft, and yeah, that's gonna be overbuilt. So we're currently down below 2 kilometers per second. Not too bad there. I'm going to shut this down now. And we're going to have our heat shield. Okay, so we can see that we're currently slated for a water landing. I kind of doubt that that'll actually happen. I think it'll be a land landing. And that's reasonably okay. So let's warp forward at this point. We have a heat shield in place, but I don't know if that's actually going to protect this area. It should be about the right width. We'll see. But we're not moving tremendously quickly. There's still a lot of air between us and the ground as well. So that should be absolutely fine. But we are being quite cautious here, because I'm not particularly confident in this situation, and we definitely want to have parachutes. Parachutes help. So let's bring that on down. We're still at about 2 kilometers per second orbitally. Let's move into surface velocity mode, though. This is what really matters at this point, and we're at 1,800 meters per second. Okay. We're still quite high up and trending towards the water up over here. However, we are seeing our speed decrease, and yeah, we can see that coming forward. We might have a water landing here. We might. We're slowing down a lot, though. Okay. We pulled off of the node because we were in physics warp there. I did not want to be off of the node, so I realigned us by pulling us out of physics warp. I think we're going to be on the shoreline. This is still indicating water for right now, but that's moving pretty quickly. We're slowing down a lot. I would definitely prefer a water landing, so I'm not getting the chutes out just yet. We're looking straight down right now, and if we see that we're going to be over the water, that's when the chutes are going to go out. Chutes could go out right now, but I would prefer a water landing. And currently it would be a land landing. Still land. Yeah, we're currently over the beach. But this is going to be water now. Yep, we're now officially over the water. Let's get these chutes out. Fantastic. This should be a very, very safe landing. So overall, that was an exceptionally safe re-entry, and we could have taken that more aggressively. 100% we could have taken that more aggressively. I was very concerned about this, but I don't think at this time that it was necessary to be concerned about it. I think that this was blocked by this guy coming back out, but I wasn't sure that it would work that way. Now that we know that it does work that way, well, we're not going to use this design again because we're blocking our hatch, right? But we can definitely make a redesign of this, and that'll be reasonably decent. We do want to continue cleaning up some of these side missions. Absolutely, we want to do that. We need a fair amount of science yet. And let's just bring this right on down. These chutes aren't opening yet. They'll get there. I hope. No, the chutes are definitely going to open. 100%. So this is all absolutely fine. This is basically midday. Interesting. Not bad in terms of our timing there, considering we didn't aim it at all. And, I mean, we're going to get a water landing, although just barely. We could have manipulated a land landing out of that, too, if we wanted to. But we didn't. So there's the drogues deploying. That looks... Actually, that was the mains deploying. The drogue's already deployed. We're moving at about 9 meters per second. For splashdown, this is absolutely fine. I would be concerned about this on land, but we had a similar landing speed on land previously, and it was fine. I'm not sure what the crash tolerance of a heat shield is in KSP2, but it seems to be a little higher than in KSP1. So that is good to know. But let's just splash this guy on down. As soon as we get there, it'll all be good. $200 meters to go yet. I'm just looking at the way that this water is put together here. This is clearly just a static normal map with another normal map on top of it. Okay, sure. That is fine. So the active vessel is, of course, recoverable, and we are going to do exactly that. Let's confirm that recovery, and these vessel destroyed here, there's 5 of those. That's interesting. I would expect 4 because of the 4 bits that were detached. I don't know, maybe another one was detached at some point. Regardless, let's head back to the KSC. It doesn't really matter, and let's go into the R&D center. We can see we have about 2,000 science right now. We would have had a lot more if we had been able to EVA. That would have been nice. But for the time being, do we have any science to work on over here? No. How much will it cost us to max out the medium tree? It'll be fairly expensive. More than we have, for sure. These 4 would be 1,600. And then this would be another 1,500, and then another 650. But this would give us access to the Mark 25 drogue chute. I'm not sure how necessary that really is. Launch escape system, some lights. Yeah. Payload bays, I mean, that's okay. And aviation is not all that necessary. So we definitely could skip these things. I mean, having access to the LT2 Wombat would be very, very good. We definitely want access to larger landing legs. So I think we'll grab landing utilities into heavy landings, because we know that we're going to need to land a 200-ton mass on the surface of Minmus, right? And then we know we're going to need to land an even bigger one on Duna. So that's reasonably fine. We can do that for now. We can unlock heavy rocketry almost. This will give us access to the Rhino. Okay, noted. And then this up here is XL. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's just continue working through these. We can grab 2 more. So let's grab medium payloads and medium trusses, just to have some of that scratched off the list, out of the way. Now, let's head over to mission control real quick here. What do we want to work on next? Well, we can definitely do this. We probably would prefer to fly there or just have like some sort of a straight down drop. Maybe. But a 200-ton lander on Minmus is a lot. For 35 science, that's a whole lot. Atmospheric survey from Joule will do that. Sphere of influence from Eve, yes, we'll do that. Land a vessel on Duna with a current mass over 300 tons. Okay, so let's hop into our VAB real quick here. I want to check what our current lander mass is when fully fueled. Obviously, our current lander is, I think, still too small, even with the monstrosity here. And let's see here. This is a more recent version, I believe. Checking those dates. Yeah, this is the most recent version. So we'll load this guy up. And I want to see what the actual weight up here is. Hang on, this isn't the most recent version. Which one is the most recent version here? I'm quite positive that we saved it. It should have been this one. The reason why I say it's not the most recent version, maybe we didn't save the modification. It does have this, but we did remove this guy and the docking mechanism, and we extended this tank a little bit. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not planning on actually utilizing this. I just want to check in and see if we did this. What would the mass up here be? So let's get rid of everything here. I'm not going to save this. But what is the mass on this? So let's see here. Engineer's report. This is less than half. Or not less than half. This is a little over half. Fully fueled. So this would need to be a lot bigger. Maybe that should actually be done when we do our base. That would probably make sense. So if that's the case, let's not save this, and let's hop over to mission control. Cool. So in that case, we should probably do an enter Eve sphere of influence next, is what I'm thinking. That said, well, we're going to need the antenna around Joule for better signal. So with that in mind, how much do we need to get that better antenna? Bare minimum. We know that we're going to need this antenna, right? So that's going to be 2,800. We could get that just from going to Eve. However, the thing that we send to Eve should probably be our Duna lander. Is what I'm thinking. We're not going to land with it. We're just going to go do a flyby, is the current thinking. So let's hop back to the VAB. Okay, we've got this guy right now. So we would open this up, and I would want to load this guy again. Actually, no, it's this one. This is the correct one. Hang on, why did I not see that before? Probably because I looked at this date, not this date. Okay, let's load this guy. And this would get us definitely to a flyby of Eve and back. 100%. We could probably land on Gilly as well. We could probably land on Eve, but not return. This would definitely not have the thrust to weight to get us out of Eve. But we could definitely do that here. That is a thing, however, for next episode. You could leave your offerings to the engagement gods, and we will fix this up here as well. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kintogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.